Stop.
I'd like to call for order the meeting of the Library Building Committee. It's Thursday, August 8th, 2024, and it's 2:10. This is a hybrid meeting at Old Town Hall. The agenda is subject to revisions or additions prior to the meeting. The listing of matters are those recently anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Now, all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. I'm going to ask for a roll call of the members of the building committee. Starting with Jim.
Present.
Jim
Ronald
Gibson.
Farr.
Pat Gales,
Mark Crosby present.
Britt Curtis Rust,
Ken Pacheco present. And Nicole?
Nicole Mello, present.
Thank you.
Call to order the meeting of the Dayton Public Library Board of Trustees. Ron O'Connor present.
Rita Russo present.
Could we all stand for the pledge of allegiance? Pledge of allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I want to review comment, input on the 100% design goal.
Yes, so we received our 100% design drawings yesterday. We have them. I emailed them out today prior to the meeting, but due to email issues, they went through to people who, they didn't go through the town emails. I think, like Pat said, she got hers, you got yours, Ken. I think you may.
I haven't seen it, but let me.
Okay. I got a bounce back message for emails that I sent to town, to Dayton emails, but we have the 100% plans. I did speak with Jim Aguirre, building commissioner, immediately prior to this meeting, and he gave me his input on them. So he gave me permission to speak on his behalf as what his opinion of those plans were. And he said he was actually pleasantly surprised at the detail provided in the 100% plans. He wasn't expecting that, given the detail that was provided in 30% plans. He said there are some things, there's some nitpicky things he was going to pick at, like the placement of electrical outlets and then the lights. But he said that's, in his opinion, that's not really a big deal. That's something we can fix, work with the contractor with. The HVAC is a bit of a different animal because he recommends, and I would agree with him that, because he would know, that the HVAC system that the architects have designed is not the one we would be going with for reasons discussed in previous building committee meetings. But he said, other than that, these are, he believes that they were good 100% plans in his estimation. And I wanted to share that with you, with him being on vacation and not here to deliver that news.
I wonder if we'd stepped on them before, that he would have gotten to us.
Maybe.
Short answer is yes.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about your?
Sure. I left here on Thursday since my work week ends on Thursday in Dayton. And I reached out to Chris, who was out in the field, no surprise, it being the season that it is. But I worked my way up the ladder to one of the co-owners, Gail Trachtenberg. And I came on a bit strong, leading with the authorization to terminate and the disappointment and the slow delivery of plans. And it was evident to me, she was very apologetic about it, and it was pretty evident to me that this project has not really been on her desk. So we set up a conference call for Friday, the following day when Chris would be in, and that turned out to be pretty difficult. A pretty difficult call. It was acrimonious, and they aggressively defended themselves on time of performance issues, and told me that the plans had been done, were done that day, August 2nd, as per an interim agreement that they had with on the project schedule, and that they would be transmitted on Monday. Things seem to be going our way with the call. They defended themselves on timelines, et cetera, et cetera. And to be honest with you, I had, it was a tabletop exercise for me. I had Mark's a summary memo on dates and things like that, that I didn't have to reveal a single one. I ended the call by saying I look forward to receiving the plans on Monday. I could have said, why don't you just send them today if they're ready today. I truly believe that they were caught by surprise. And I later learned there have been no prior communications from this board to them about, the disappointment you all expressed to me. That's not an excuse, for missing deadlines at all. But I think between Thursday night and Friday, Mark, I shared with you that somebody probably pulled an all-nighter, and I suspect that they worked through part or all of the weekend on the job. One thing that they did say on Friday, that is Gail, she said, we'll submit the plans and we'll submit the project invoices, and I don't know where we're going to go from there. And I said, neither do I. And left it at that. And in my post-conversation summary notes, I posited that, perhaps when they send the invoices and things along, they'll send a termination letter of their own for services. One, because they're mad at us right now, and which I can live with. And but I also as a defensive move, if they can tell the marketplace that they separated from us instead of the other way around, then their corporate reputation doesn't suffer. And today, I got an email from Chris. I did not answer it, but Chris asked if, now that we have everything in our possession, if we would consider, keeping them on. I didn't tell them that I had a meeting today and that I would be discussing this with you, and we can talk about that a little bit more. I'll arc back to that. So remember, we said at the outset last Thursday that the organizational objective is to, get back on schedule, and that's what I was going to try to achieve with the thing. But I would use all means possible to do that, and it seemed to get them right back up on the ball. And I'm pleased to hear that the Jim's review of the plan documents is a positive. Now, as I understand, I'm learning these things. I think I'm in my 7th week now. I'm learning that, or I had learned, that the town went through an exercise close to a year ago of having on-call architectural and engineering type services. So, and they selected, I think, 4 different parties to provide peer reviews for like conservation and planning and other things. And in all the other instances, those contracts are working out very well. Now, they enter into a contract with the town. The town has a so-called standard long form contract. So last October, you secured contracts with, is it MTT or
MMT.
MMT? With MMT and at least 3 others for various services. So, and the terms of that contract, among other things, is that those services contracts can go up to 3 years, but they're subject to the town renewal on an annual basis. That's coming up, I think, on October 23rd. Okay, so and so having those long form contracts just says that they're there for us on call, on demand basis. So you had a work order, which is, which is a job off of the main contract. So I wasn't fully aware last week when we spoke that I could choose to terminate the work order, not the main contract. I'd have to go through other steps to do that. But the point is the same. It's, there's really no difference there. So his question to me was, now that you have the plans, there's another phase coming up. I forget what the heck it was. Are we going to continue or now if you do, that would be presumably work order number 2 under the main contract. If you chose not to go forward with them, the next phase of your contract, they're still under contract to us for town services. And we could move to terminate that or just not give them any more work until October 23rd and not exercise the option to renew. From a legal standpoint, that's the safest. That's the safest part because we reserved that right, that sole right, under the original long form contract to just opt not to renew for year 2. So, so that's where we stand. And Mark, on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and today, they've been sending stuff through, including to Holly, is Holly on vacation starting today?
Yeah,
I think Holly's gone now, but so they've been at it.
It trickled in until
This was a wake up call, to be sure. And I would just urge you that whether it's MMT or any other party that you decide to bring on somewhere along the way, don't let things fester. If something's bothering you. Now we're also in a transition. Maybe if Mike were here, the whole time, Mike would have been handling this. So some of this is also a function of a transition, and I didn't know what the heck was going on. Until you guys just got a boil.
Just speaking for myself, and not for anybody, not for the committee, not anybody on the committee. I did personally notice frustrations really start to rise and start to bubble over after Mike had left, who had really the point person. We talked about the deadlines and the delays, but we didn't really start bouncing the frustrations off each other, and it really didn't grow to the level it was at until after his departure. And that's a comment that I made personally, just observing.
And I think that accelerated, correct me if I'm wrong, after the 30% benchmark meeting, I think is when the things probably.
I think where it accelerated, just for me personally, is when they said they were going to do the site review to verify 30% plans, either on the Monday, the Tuesday, or the Wednesday of the first week of July. But then on the Thursday, contacted us at 4:30 in the evening and said, is anybody available the following day on Friday at 9:30? I think that was
Was that before or after? You said that preceded the 30% meeting?
Yeah, that was the 30% meeting in their updated timeline.
I see.
That they said we'll have a site review on one of these 3 days to verify our 30% drawings.
Yeah.
And so we scheduled the building committee meeting for that following Tuesday based on that. And then they got to us 4:30 in the afternoon on the Thursday. Anybody available the next day at 9:30 a.m. That was one of those, you turn your head to the side and look at them like, what? That was one of those moments.
So we have that. We have a transition in administration in the town, and we have a $49,909 contract with a company that's in full swing in their construction season right now. I think I used the word stepchild, more than once. We may be a stepchild right now. Not their top priority. And I got a whiff of that in my Friday call Gail was particularly aggressive. I am, among other things, unprofessional. So.
Well, at least we know now.
Yeah. So tell us what we don't know.
There's no reply, we'll note that.
Well, lessons learned, and they're gonna be defensive on their part.
I think, you want to know something? I think with Chris's email to me today expressing an interest to advance to the next step, you could look at it a number of ways. You could say, no, we're done, or you could call this a turning point. I might, I'm just one person, okay? And I'll be gone long before this project is done, okay? But it could be a turning point in your relationship too. You know, I don't know.
What
You know them better. I
So what they would be proposing is construction, they call it construction oversight.
This is how three, see that?
So basically, they work with the contractors and say, okay, these are the plans, this is how we're gonna, this, basically, the stuff that last meeting, that Jim Aguirre said he would take over and oversee, basically, they would be doing that. That would be.
That's the one and the same thing, Mark?
Yes, correct. So if we choose to continue MMT, and the proposal, their phase 2 proposal to Mike Mullen on May 6th, which is good for, I think, good for 30 days, so we'll pass that, come to the new one, came to $23,882. If Jim Aguirre takes that over, he would take over everything that MMT is proposing on this proposal with assistance from Granite City Partners and also. So those are the we're at a fork in the road, and those are the two options moving forward.
Perhaps when you get together with Jim again,
Mhm.
you can talk, and whatever the will of the committee is, you know, whatever direct path you want to take going forward. I no longer fear a continued relationship with them, but I don't, you know, you guys do what you think is best here, period, you know.
I know on the call that I had with Jim right before this meeting, he seemed ready to go and to take it on. He said it's not out of the wheelhouse.
Okay.
But that was just that's just me talking, you know, me talking to Jim in the call.
Mhm.
Perhaps if he were here, he would have some things to say. We could make a motion on this without him here, or we could wait till the next meeting when he is here and to discuss this. But I think I know where he stands. I do. I think I know where he stands. He is eager, willing, and ready to take this project on. But I don't want to. I'd rather have him say that to the committee instead of me just interpreting. Instead of me interpreting what he is saying to the committee, I'd rather him say it.
Me too. He
Yeah.
does other things for the town.
Right.
Okay, and so, you know, he knows his workload like none of us here do.
Yes.
And I would take him at his word if he said that he could accommodate everything. You know, but I just asked him to,
Yeah.
if he were here, I would ask him,
Right.
Jim, I want you to be damn sure that you're still leaving time for unanticipated
Right.
things
Right.
across the board.
So I can speak on his behalf on things he told me that I could speak on and was comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I can infer his sense based on the call we had, but when it comes to speaking on his behalf for things that
Yeah.
we did not specifically speak to in the conversation, I'd rather let him do that.
Yeah, I would suggest that we don't take a vote.
Yeah, yeah.
Today. Is Jim on vacation next week too?
He'll be coming back, he said Monday or Tuesday.
Okay, so I would pull off on that to let's
Yeah.
hear from Jim.
Yep.
But I, like you, interpret from what he was saying that he could hear.
Yes.
So.
That seemed to be the message he was, yeah.
I would not be interested in extending any kind of a contract with MMT. They can use all the excuses they want, but this was due in May. And
Mhm.
4 months later, is it 4 months? 2 months, 3 months
I know,
later.
I'm retired now, I don't think.
3 months later.
So, we're both here. Right?
Yeah.
That's free.
Oh, yeah, that's right, that's right.
Four, so.
Everybody.
Except me.
Everybody, yeah.
And Nicole.
Yeah. Oh, she's not retired.
But that's, I think that may be the thing that Chris doesn't understand. This committee doesn't meet every day seems like we meet every week, but we don't meet that frequently. So when we have this gap in time between meetings and we learn, oh, nothing new, it starts to boil up. We depend on Mark and Jim, who do a great job in terms of, handling the day-to-day stuff.
They do.
But they have the patience of saints more so than we do. But it's like, we did ask the question, Jonathan asked the question, so what happened to the 3 months? At the meeting where I don't remember if you were here.
I do.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't think that got answered. And
Right.
it was unfortunate that we didn't just say, wait a minute, right?
Yeah.
But we said,
Yep.
he put on a good show and I was pleased. Personally, I was like, okay, good, we're moving forward. And that's
No.
why I didn't say, well, wait a minute, we need an answer to that question, because I felt like we're moving on.
And that was a deliberate track that we took.
Yeah.
We made that decision at the time.
Yeah.
Hindsight is completely different. We made the decision that we were just gonna be, thank you, this is great, but we didn't want to give them a reason or an excuse to delay the project. Hindsight, looking back on it, perhaps we need to be more aggressive. Would that have given us a different outcome? Maybe. We have the benefit of hindsight for that.
Well,
Which we did not-
very
which we did not-
kind of us to talk about it.
Yes.
In very open terms.
Yes.
But with respect to, this work order is probably done. What are your protocols on payment of invoices?
So I have the invoice they submitted. We paid down $10,000, 20% of the invoice.
And how did that?
I use that with grant funds, which were the Privilege Library trustees. So that was spent down. To pay down this invoice would come from the project budget, which is special article. So I require a vote from the committee and then selecting signatures to pay that down. Yes.
So I'm in a wait mode to receive in the town hall sign offs on the invoices. So that's how it works.
Yeah, for this invoice, yes.
Can it speak of 30 days, I suppose? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I assume so. It doesn't say
Well,
anything,
they're
but yeah.
having their invoices out and
In plenty of time.
having a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the plans, here's the invoice.
Well, yeah, that was that was the promise that I extracted from them last week. I hope you're not contemplating, Mr. Chairman, any action on the invoices today, because you want to be sure, you've got a glimpse, but you want to be sure about the thoroughness of the plans.
Right.
And are there things that have to be tweaked, et cetera, et cetera. So I get that, but different committees, have different protocols here in Dayton. I was just curious as to how they handle it.
Yep, that's all that table will get.
So I think, like we discussed with Jim, definitely the HVAC. And also
Yes.
on the plans, there wasn't that second egress ramp. I don't know if they knew about that or not.
Right. Yeah, as far
But that
as,
was a,
Right.
conversation that we've been having. So I did notice that those two things real quick.
and by second egress, you mean the one that's existing that could then
No, the
become.
one where we were talking about the ramp to go on the, off of the employee entrance.
Yeah, the one that's existing now. That's the existing one now, to make it, yeah.
Well, so
They were aware.
That happened after, yeah.
Yeah.
Because they talk about, in the plan, they talk about taking that up.
Yeah.
Which in their defense, that was initially what was presented to them, that's all we have.
So I'm sure that's all part of the fine tuning of it when we go
Yeah.
back.
And the point that Jim did make is that if we are in control of our own destiny, those are words, so I'll choose the words he used. In control of our own destiny, we can fine tune the plan as much as we want with the contract.
I remember him saying that.
Yeah.
Including the HVAC.
HVAC, we would need to contract out to have design.
You
We're
had
gonna
mentioned,
do that anyways.
you had
because-
mentioned the last meeting, also
Right.
responsive, how many?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I'll call Mallory, Amherst, she's she's kind of
Yes.
way down there now. And ask her for some contact information. That guy came to our rescue. We had a 5-year-old police station that we couldn't get the hats on, with our HVAC system. And I think I may have stopped me if I said this before, but the way things operated in Swansea in those days was that, Mark, if you had an HVAC issue in a good building that you had, but you needed help or repairs with it, it's up to you. You know, somebody trained in library sciences to start developing an HVAC spec, okay?
I'd be on it.
Yeah, you might.
Yeah. I might be on this HVAC system. Yeah.
You know, you might, but we had HVAC problems in 3 or 4 different buildings, including the Council on Aging building. And Dom stepped up to help on a volunteer basis because he's a Swansea resident. And, you know, to help with the police station, but he worked for a company. And we just ended up, anytime we had an issue and needed a front-end spec, you know, drawn up and, you know, to review plans and bids that came in, we paid them for that privilege, but they were small. It was short money that we could take out of the article itself, you know, so it wasn't a line item budget. And they were terrific. And if I call Mallory, I hope I don't find out that they messed one up someplace along the road, because that's all I've got to offer is a first name.
Well, I do want to point out something. So initially in the project budget, there was a 50,000 architectural fee budgeted for specifically MMT.
Okay.
But since we paid 10,000 out of grant funds to spend the remainder, this 40,000 down, that gives us a $10,000 in the black as far as that budget goes. So assuming contracting an architectural engineer to get another HVAC comes in at $10,000-ish, we'd still be in the black as far as the overall project budget. So this wouldn't be an additional strain on what was projected budget-wise, which would be a good thing, especially since we're like we haven't even started the real guts of the project yet.
So the $23,000 plus that MMT wanted, is that budget also?
No, that was not. That was not. And that was one thing Mike Mullen made clear when he got the proposal, is that we did, in the initial budgeting, the phase 2 fees weren't factored into that. So this is, that will be the 23, that will be 20,000 and change that is not accounted for in the project budget.
So we're not saving money on the budget, we're just not spending money.
Correct. Yes. That's also something to keep in mind.
It's becoming more clear on whether there's going to be a work order number 2 or not, or if Jim's going to run with this. It's becoming more clear.
So for the HVAC engineer, there's no one on that on-call list who has the credentials to do that, right?
I'll look, there are some pretty big outfits there.
Okay, so somebody's gonna do it.
Westman Sampson is one of them. And, they're more.
Granite City one?
Yeah, maybe, well, Granite City is your kind of your OPM on this. But the other companies are more vertical, horizontal construction versus vertical, meaning, water, sewer, that sort of thing. This outfit, the architectural firm, is the opposite, but I'll look.
That just would be easier.
I just located yesterday all those materials around, so.
Yeah, I didn't know about them until this all came up, and I said, aha, now I understand what happened. There was, a meeting to review them last August. It went to the Board of Selectmen for approval in September or October, somewhere in that, and then they submitted their specific proposal for this project, having been accepted as an on-call provider.
Yeah, that's a work order off of their main contract with the town. And by the way, well done. I haven't seen something like that done in too many places. I'm having some difficulties reconstructing the actual electronic files and paper files and stuff on that. But, the concept of having on-call services like that in the manner that you did it, not too many places do it. And I say well done to you guys for that.
I'd love for this committee to take credit.
It was all me.
I think that was Mike's genius.
Yeah,
Yes, pleasant surprise.
I'm sure, yeah.
Anything else? I think we're on agenda item 4 now, with an update on the item MMT.
Yeah, I think we kind of transitioned seamlessly into that.
Yeah, we're past that.
So are there any other questions regarding this? If not, we can move to agenda item number 5.
Just to note, and I think I sent this to you and Mark, the visit that they made here, the 30% review meeting, it seemed like Holly had a different understanding of that that these review meetings in their proposal were not meetings with the committee. And that was our interpretation. Mark and I had that. And Ken, you did this as well. So if you want to clarify that.
There was some question as to whether MMT considered the presentation they gave to the committee, something in addition to their, in addition to their scope. Because they priced it out, a visit would cost, travel, presentation prep would cost X amount of dollars, and you're looking at this amount, they priced it out. So there was some discussions about the pricing it out. Are we gonna get a separate bill for that? And looking at the invoice submitted, nothing extra, nothing, there's nothing additional, there are no surprises. It is exactly what would have been expected, given the scope with what was signed and countersigned. So that, there are no additional fees in the invoice they submit.
That's probably because they wanted $22,882.
You might, and remain on the call, and remain in the on-call contract, yeah.
Yeah, you guys,
So that proposal did include another meeting.
It did.
And so
The
that
design review meetings at 100%.
so that meeting will happen.
If we choose to not extend them, I think.
But that's not
it will not
decided
happen.
with the committee. I think that's the question I want to put to the committee. Do we want that to be with the committee, or do we want basically Mark, Jim, and maybe you, Jim, to go over? It sounded like Holly was involved in the 10% review meeting.
If that meeting happens, I think it happens if we elect to move forward with MMT for the phase 2.
I see.
If we do not elect to move forward with MMT for phase 2, and Jim and Granite City Punch assume the oversight of the project, I don't think that meeting will happen, because there will likely be tweaks that we make to the plans, because as Jim said, we'd be in control of our own destiny.
Okay.
I'd like to know Jim's degree of confidence. He gave us a fast,
Mhm.
a fast and dirty a commentary on the review, but I'm sure he hasn't done, a deep dive into it.
He did specifically preface our conversation. Yeah, I'm looking at the plans right now on a whatever inch
Okay,
screen, so he hasn't seen,
okay.
like, he doesn't have the full format, the large format printout with the previous plans at the previous meeting. So he hasn't seen them in that.
Yeah.
He did preface the fact he's looking at them on a very small screen.
I'd be more confident.
Yeah.
Talking about,
Mhm.
another meeting after he does that.
Sure.
Yeah. Does that review.
We hear, he said he's back either Monday or Tuesday.
So I was thinking we could do him a favor and get those printed out, because there's a planning board that can, just a large format printer would be good.
Yeah, I was going to do that. I was gonna look into that anyway. Yeah,
Good.
I was gonna look into that anyway. Yeah.
Good. Let's get that done, so they'll be here when he gets back.
Yep.
Yeah,
Put a bunch of rhythm on there for him.
Yep, yeah, here you go. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome
No,
back.
that's a good thing. Yeah.
Okay, next agenda item, review, discuss proposed work stream. Building infrastructure.
So, yeah, so I do, no, go
Yeah,
ahead.
so this is my thing. Like, I like to look at things in containers for organizing my thinking. I started to think that, beyond getting, we've been spending a lot of time talking about the architect and getting the plans in so we can move forward. But there's other, places where we work, where this committee has, as part of their role, Mark is taking on the lion's share, leading all of this, but I wanted to make sure. So these are just off the top of my head. I think I started this at the last meeting. We have this whole building stuff. And then there's the budget, there's grants and fundraising, and then there's community updates and information. Those are the buckets I like to, I think we place things in. So this committee has awareness, and we even structure our meeting agendas around this as a way of making sure we're not missing anything. We have a formal process for ensuring that we get things talked about at these meetings. So that this was merely put that on the table, particularly am I missing anything where we have discussions, but this was more just, it's me. Somebody once said to me, I know you like to put things into containers. I said, what's wrong with that? But that is the way I am. Yeah.
Is there anything else that anyone feels should be added to this? Personally, I think it kind of covers everything that should be addressed the meetings.
And as a public facing exercise, it does help, for those who take the time in the community to look at our agendas, they can see, okay, they are working on fundraising and they're great, they're looking at their budget and they're looking at community outreach and education and getting the building built.
Did I hear that, that you were interested in doing some sort of a news blast or something on the status of the?
Yeah, I'd like to give.
I thought I heard that a
Yeah.
couple of weeks ago. We just put one out on the Main Street project.
Mhm, mhm.
We had a, interestingly enough, Holly and Tom Ferry were involved. We had a project meeting, the Main Street project, a Zoom meeting. And I brought the town's a PR firm in, JG. So a couple of those staffers, were in about a 20-minute, for about a 20-minute segment of that Zoom meeting. I figured on the Main Street project, my two greatest assets were Tom and Holly. And as long as I was meeting with them, I would invite the PR folks in. And so now there's something that's out there. We can set something up, or unless you've worked with them already, Mark.
I have not, no.
Or you run or anyone else. Okay.
So I haven't really been delivering regular updates because I didn't really think we had many. However,
Yeah, sure. You want to give me some red meat.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
However, when Congressman Auchincloss, when he visited, I knew that I was going to be posting that on social media because there were pictures and all that stuff. And so I knew that that was going to be my first real update and really bringing it back into the public's top of their mind. I did, and I think this is actually a significant point. I did, so during the department head meeting yesterday, I gave a presentation on the updates for the library. And I broke it down into two phases. First, I said where we're at, how we got here. I showed updated photographs of the interior, which I took last weekend, as up to date as you could possibly be. And then I talked about, I had a very mellow tone. If I'm mischaracterizing myself, jump in. But I felt like I kept a very mellow tone, just dryly reported on our work with the architects and the deadlines and that sort of thing.
You got an energy in a
Right.
demonstrative way. You weren't calmly doing anything.
Anyway, I made the point I needed to make.
You did it without due deliberation.
Yes.
But you're a high energy guy.
Okay. But after that, any sort of questions that I got had to do with the actual project itself, not what I just like, not the overwhelming negativity of the delays and the architects, of the frustrations we've been dealing with. All the questions were about the interior of the building and the progress. Then after the meeting, I was walking back with multiple people who attended, and all they wanted was like, wow, it's great to get some positive news, And I was like, they wanted to talk about the positives. It was like the architectural stuff, which is in the forefront of our minds, because we're dealing with this, was not even a blip on the radar when I gave these updates. So just because we're dealing with the frustrations, and we all are frustrated, I've been right there with all of you, we shouldn't take for granted how powerful the positives of this project actually are, and how large, how big, how that resonates, how that part resonates with people way more than these delays and the frustrations of the architects. The takeaway for me was just presenting on the progress of the project. That's what people were hungry for. And that's the take. And so we may have lost sight of that.
The print media and other media, they're just not covering towns anymore. And we have to frame our own narrative, and it has to be true. So I would encourage the group, with the chairs and all to work with the firm sometime soon. When you think you got enough red meat to put out there.
Yeah, because I just think we may have we've been talking.
I've worked with the PR firm for some of the historical commission stuff.
Yeah.
And they're really good at sitting and listening to you and taking what you're saying and organizing it and putting it out there for you. So it's a good tool.
That's great.
I would say timing it would make sense if we could get something out in September, only because people are coming back from summer getting, you know, I think the questions are gonna come up. And I think the more we can get out there, you're right, they can help to take our narrative and we'll spin it.
And I do believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Ronnie, correct if I'm wrong, Nicole, but I believe the selectmen asked for an update at the selectmen's meeting on, I believe, the 21st.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll begin to do that. That was actually, the department head meeting was a really good, I guess,
Dry run.
dry run. To know that, okay, the positive act, just the fact, the project itself has much more positivity than all the negatives that we're focusing in on. And I think, I don't want to lose our way on that.
For Dayton, the fact that it is a renovated new library for us is really positive.
Yeah.
So people are like, finally, we have a larger library
Yes.
coming. So you have to remember that, you know.
And people are like, I remember that building, and
Right.
I can't wait for it to open.
What was
It's been
the
so
building?
long since we were able to get a new
Well,
library.
it was
Right.
a memorial hall built in memory of Newport Social.
It was, the hall
Life.
was built in 1897 for Anna Talbot Smith, who married a gentleman from Newport that was in like the high society things. And she was originally from Benton. So when she passed, he started the memorial hall in her honor. He did a number of buildings, one in Newport, you know, in her honor after she passed. He dies before the project is completed. The family finishes it and they donate it to what was then the Unitarian Church. So it was the church hall for eons.
Because she lived on Smith Street.
No, she actually lived on Pleasant Street. Her father was Captain Seth Talbot.
Ah, yes, the Talbots.
Yeah.
Could we dovetail the project, you know, this is what we've done with, we were talking about, maybe having people support like shelves or something. So if we're gonna get the PR out there, can we get that out there too? So people can be like, this is how I can. Does that make
I
sense?
think we can mention that we are thinking about that, you know, we're planning that. Our plan to do that with the selectmen as well, but we don't have specific plans yet, we want
Is there a gift account set up for
to do.
the
Yes,
project?
yes. That time might actually work out, because selectmen meeting 21st. I'm expecting my delivery of shelving to come the first week of September. That could be, hey, you know,
Get your name in for.
Right.
What we need to figure out as a committee, I would think, is
Yeah.
the process.
Right.
You
You
know,
need a process, yeah.
because there are two real benchmarks. There's the day the shelving comes in, and then there's the day it actually starts to get assembled.
and so if we have stuff going out, that would be part of it, to be like.
Right.
This is
So you
how,
actually wanna have, when someone comes into the library, you wanna have a form available. You want,
that's right.
you know, you wanna have,
Right.
you know, your little blurb about it and all of that, rather than just saying, yeah, we'll take the check. And what name,
exactly.
and what name do you want on it? You know?
Yeah, we talked about bringing on a consultant for fundraising, but you know, other libraries have done this. It's this kind of fundraising that's targeted to particular parts of the library, so MBLC can help us with that. I had mentioned that Maura Didi, who left there and now is a consultant, left MBLC, is now doing consulting around a number of dimensions of library work, not fundraising from what I could tell, but I'm sure she knows people who could help us if we wanted to. I'm all for just having a more coordinated or organized thing rather than saying, the boxes are arriving with the shelving. If you want to be there and write your name on the box, you can do that.
Right, but I just feel like we can't keep kicking that down the road, because that would
And
be
you
very
need
helpful.
levels of, giving, you know, so if someone gives you $50, are they gonna get their name on the shelf, or is it someone that gives you $200, you know, or 1,000, or, you know, 5,000? So you've got levels of giving that you have to think about.
And when I talked about these buckets here, I was thinking about subcommittees. And so this might be a place where we just want to have two or, maybe three people. I believe we can do that. We have to check but I know committees
You
can
can
have
make working
subcommittees,
committees.
working committees.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be a good, and then report back to the full
Yeah.
group, because
if it's a quorum,
Yeah, it should be less than 5 minutes or whatever
Yeah.
subcommittee.
So just have two or three people get together and brainstorm, I think that's.
and no votes are taken, you have to bring it back to the
Yeah.
vote.
Yes.
You know, because like we have a working committee for the historical commission, I usually post them as open meetings because sometimes we get 4 people there. So, but it's a working meeting and we state no motions are being made or taken, no votes are taken, and bring everything back to the commission,
I would post all subcommittee meetings, yes.
even if it's 2 people, that works, yeah.
And we could invite the friends who are our fundraising efforts. They're doing things, but they may have other thoughts, but that's all. I think a subcommittee to come back with recommendations, I'm happy to be part of that. But I think we have time to deliberate on that right now, that's all. Time is of the essence, and it does make sense to get something out to the public in September.
I think
I
if
also-
you
You're
make
not
one-
limited to one newsblast either, so.
Yeah.
We have, my understanding of the JP and JGR contracts are that you have for a fixed fee, I think it's either 4 or 5 press releases per month. If you trip that number, you have to pay extra for it. If you don't, it's gone. That sort of thing is my understanding of it. Now, I have not reviewed, Dayton's contract, so you're not limited to, to just one and done, that sort of thing like that. You can break it up a bit.
Yeah, yes, actually, 251.
They've been underutilized too, the PR, as far as I know, when I was on the board anyway.
Okay, they really came, they broadened their reach into municipal operations. They started out as public safety, acting or assisting police departments and other emergency services departments, fire departments, for crisis type statements, et cetera, et cetera. And now they're, they've gone a bit larger. And what I've seen over the years is, yes, most towns do underutilize their services. But they're great to have in a pinch, I gotta tell you.
I'd be happy to sit, I think the timing would work out, last week of August, I'm happy to sit down with maybe we can share this, because select a meeting on the 21st, shelving comes first week of September. I think the last week of August would be, that would be an ideal time. In my opinion.
We may not need to be there, we can just do quotes. We can just do quotes for that. Sort that.
Like I said, the last one, or the only one I've done in Dayton so far was a Zoom, meeting and so you can certainly do that. I'm sure that's their preference.
Yeah, sure.
Well, people should think about being part of the subcommittee for fundraising. I know I'm interested also, so I'm not sure, 2 chairs. I can be part
Me
of it.
too, if you want, I'm happy.
Well, you're somewhat familiar with the process, I think.
Sure.
More than what I am.
No, I can have
Would
2
be
chairs.
interested in.
Think about it.
We can put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yes, you could, please.
Well, I'm happy to do some research. Ken, if you're interested, you can do that too, and without you in the meeting, we can come, and anybody can come in with ideas. Maybe that's a focus of the next meeting, maybe be that.
So you're saying, for like when we're having our meetings, if those are 4 areas, should always be like on the agenda
Exactly, yeah.
for discussion,
That's,
actions, moving.
yeah, and if you need, the trustees have a community outreach committee, and it hasn't met in quite a while.
No.
But, that's another place. Yeah, I see that the budget, the infrastructure, the building stuff, that's Mark and Jim. They can take that and report back to us. The budget is the same thing. It's Mark working, keeping on top of that. And with the other 2 places, I think there's subcommittee or working groups, whatever you want to call them, to I mean, you can't ask for help on those 2 places. Mark, you're doing great. You're on top of all that stuff. So, anyway.
Is there anything else regarding agenda item number 5? We'll move on to number 6, approve the Minutes of the August 1st, 2024 meeting. Ask for a motion to approve those minutes.
So,
Is there a second?
I wasn't here.
I wasn't here.
I'll second.
Any discussion? I assume everybody's read the minutes. I'll call for a vote. Start.
so yes.
Ron O'Connor, aye.
Back Gales abstain.
Mark Crocker, aye.
Great, abstain.
And Richie goes aye. Also. Okay. Next meeting
And,
date.
I'll sit down as chair of the trustees, entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the trustees.
I second.
I think you have to make a motion.
Oh, I make a motion. I make a motion that we approve them.
Okay, and I sit down, I chair, I says,
August
second.
first meeting,
I second. Vote, Ron O'Connor, aye.
Rita Russo on.
I'll step back up as chair.
You're getting your exercise.
Next meeting. Yes.
Sitting down too, it's good.
Oh,
Next,
I got a funny one to share with you, but we're off camera. It's
Yeah.
not town business, but it happened at a town event.
Next meeting, I understand you're unable to attend meetings from 1 to 3.
Yeah, I prefer a different time, but you know,
Let's do it.
I'm here.
Let's do it a different time.
You're retired.
it's the only thing I have all week going forward.
Other than building committee meetings?
Now that I don't, work.
As for me, Mr. Chairman, my regular work hours are 9 to 3. I think you're all in good hands. I'm happy to be a resource to you. But, your meeting planning, should be around, your own needs. And I think I can be helpful when when you need me, but, your scheduling, I don't need it to be between 9 and 3 on a Monday through Thursday, so.
Well, I'll still include you on the emails, just in case, if you can attend, you can attend.
And you and I are in the same building.
Yeah.
So,
And when and when the new, when the new town administrator is hired, would part of your role be to provide some orientation, catch up that new person? Is that part of it?
Yes, but it's not an extended thing.
Yeah.
I say this from experience. In the early days, and the first of my 12 or 13 assignments that I've had over the years, we all thought, a week's overlap, to indoctrinate people into all things, in this case, Dayton. Honestly and truly, if you're organized well enough, you can do that in a day and a half, and still be available. When I exit, I always have a separation agreement with, in this case, it'll be Dayton. The separation agreement will say simply that I'm here by phone, by Zoom or any other means for no charges at all. If you need to go back to Dayton for something, well, then you have to pay it. And that rarely happens, but more than anything else, there is an indemnification, and it's really the purpose of the separation agreement, that I'm indemnified, for any actions. I mean, town administrators get sued all the time, just because someone will be aggrieved by a pothole. And so they name the town, the selectman, the town administrator, and whoever sticks, gets wrapped up in the action, and the town indemnifies us all, you all, with public officials liability insurance. It's a long-winded answer, Ron, I'm sorry, but orientations don't take as much effort as it would seem. I know that from experience, but I'll do anything that they want to make sure that the handoff is right.
Yeah.
So
The short answer.
but technically, you can't pay two people out of one position. So that's part of the deal. I go from being a town employee post, to being a consultant.
So my question is, are we paying you overtime since it's after 3 o'clock?
I've got a thing, always early. If I'm there, 9 to 3, if I'm there at 8:30 over 4, then pay me for the half hour. If I'm there at 8:35, you pay me for 9. And if I'm spilling over, today you're gonna pay me till 3. I'm not in a rush to get out of here.
That was true.
Oh, I know.
Plus, he's gonna give us something after we.
Unless you can continue talking for the next 45 minutes.
Yes. People don't like, too many people don't like public employees. Okay? And I'm an hourly employee. You think I'm gonna get caught up in an argument over 5 minutes on the clock or 10 minutes on the clock? Oh, God.
So I do think we ought to meet next week.
Yes.
Yes.
So because Jim will be back.
He said Monday or Tuesday he'd be back.
So we should probably do it Thursday to give him a day or two
Sure.
to look over everything.
Right.
He does have other things to do. I know he's got at least one front burner issue that's gonna trump you guys
And if.
when he comes back.
Jim doesn't have to be here,
Correct.
3:30 or 4 o'clock. Or even 3. You can make it for 3.
Well, I can make it for 3, yeah. It's just not.
I won't be around next week. We're here Monday and Tuesday, then we're gone. Go back home and take a week.
Right.
Yeah, it would be concerned about Jim coming back from vacation, having to deal with this.
Probably Jonathan will be available, better not have any more root.
Hopefully one's enough.
Maybe for Thursday, Wednesday. So, but we'll see.
You said you can't make,
I'm not sure.
For Thursday?
Either Wednesday or Thursday. Tuesday's good, Monday's not.
Monday wouldn't be good, because I have to
Monday.
post it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, yeah.
There you go.
It's okay. Well, even, Tuesday would be hard. Because you have to
Tuesday would be hard to.
Post it today and the next.
And Jim won't have, he may not be back.
Right.
We could do it the beginning of the following week.
Well, let me get back to Mark about which day, Wednesday or
Right.
Thursday I can not do. Take it from there.
Yeah, would it be either,
Either or, yeah.
Okay.
So we could say Wednesday or Thursday.
Yeah, I
depending
just
on-
gotta check with Dan and see if we had something planned for.
I would like to, if, could we come up with Wednesday at X time or Thursday at X time, just so I can make sure that Old Town Hall is available for that time?
or Thursday would be 3.
Thursday, okay.
Yeah, all right, just,
And Wednesday,
yeah, I'll-
22, just to make it easy.
Is it 3 good for everybody then?
Wednesday at 3.
So it would be the
Wednesday.
15th.
Does
of the-
Jim want to be involved as you work through the rest of this MMT stuff? Do you want his input?
The work that has to be done is the thoroughness of the 100%
So
submitted.
that belongs to Jim Agia.
Really does.
So I'll check, so just to be on the safe, so I'll check for next Wednesday and next Thursday, 3 o'clock,
And check it.
and then check.
Yeah, I'll get back to you after.
Because it may be that Old Town Hall is not available one of those days at 3, in which case the meeting, that's the de facto date. But I'll check, we'll get together and we'll see which one.
Yeah, usually
Works out for you?
it's not During the day, right?
I like to get it for granted.
I know.
So if we make a decision regarding MMT, would you be the one, who will send the letter to them, one way or the other, what we decide? And you need to be aware of that either way.
I think it has to go out of my office.
Okay, that's fine, we'll let you know. And then-
But you don't have to be here. Of
No,
course, it makes
no. Mike was the signatory to the original long form contract, and I imagine he was to your work order number 1. I hear as well, I imagine.
Yep.
I think so.
And this committee, this is committee is the decision maker on that.
It prompts you for,
Rather
it's
than
not trustee, yes.
Okay.
Click the link,
Okay,
and you have to get into that, but definitely don't do that.
Okay,
If there's nothing else, then I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
second,
Call for a vote, start with Jim.
Purcell, aye.
Ron O'Connor, aye.
At Bales, aye.
Mark Kropnik, aye.
Brittany Strauss,
Ken Pacheco, aye.
I make a motion that we adjourn the trustees meeting.
Budget.
I thought we were just gonna recess it. Well, let's do that. Do it.
Yeah, because he's gotta run.
Yeah, let's just get.
Okay, Stefan Chair, second. Vote Ron O'Connor, aye.
Rita Russo, aye.
Okay, trustees adjourned.
We're gonna stop the recording.
I am.
Now I get my next piece.